Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished delegates, I would kindly ask you to take your seat so that we can proceed with agenda item 5, statements by heads of delegation and discussion on key topics. So please kindly take your seat and let's allow the statements by heads of delegation. I would like to urge you to keep your statements to no more than 5 minutes so that all delegations that wish to speak can have opportunity to do so. The first 3 speakers will be Barbados, Spain, and Mauritius. I now turn the floor over to the representative from Barbados, Honorable Mr. Adrian Ford, Minister of Environment and National Beautification, Green and Blue Economy, for the first statement. The next speaker will be Spain, followed by Mauritius. Excellency, you have the floor. What is this?
Thank you, Madam President. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a privilege to address you on this occasion. As the Minister responsible for the environment in Barbados, I am even more pleased to have the opportunity to highlight the importance of the Montreal Protocol, which underpins global efforts to restore the fragile ozone layer that protects the planet from harmful ultraviolet radiation. On behalf of the Government of Barbados, I wish to thank the Ozone Secretariat for facilitating my delegation's participation in this 35th meeting of the parties, and to commend the Secretariat on the efficient organization of this meeting. My delegation also wishes to express our gratitude to the government and people of Kenya for hosting this meeting and for your kind hospitality. Distinguished delegates, decisive multilateral action on environmental threats and challenges positively impacts the health, social and economic well-being of countries and citizens. Accordingly, as a party to the protocol, my country has contributed to and benefited from such action. As a result of our ongoing efforts, I am pleased to share that Barbados attained the 35% hydrofluorocarbon reduction target in 2020, transitioned to an all-electronic licensing system that monitors hydrofluorocarbon consumptions, and develop a national cooling strategy to augment the transformation of our refrigeration and air conditioning sector. To reach successful milestones, we have utilized a balanced approach of policy, legislation, capacity building, education, and cooperation activities. Consequently, Barbados has managed to achieve and sustain compliance and is presently on track to meet the upcoming freeze in HFC consumption by 2024 and the 67.5% HCFC reduction target by 2025. At this juncture, I wish to express my government's appreciation of the long-standing support provided through the Multilateral Fund and Ozone Secretariat and the implementing agency to support national work program. Ladies and gentlemen, the protocol is an inspiring example of what international cooperation at its best can accomplish. I wish, however, to draw to your attention to a very serious challenge that is of particular importance and concern to Barbados and other developing countries. As we deliberate, we must be mindful that the world is begging us to address the impacts of the El Niño phenomenon. Rising global temperatures have caused a corresponding increased demand of cooling. In fact, this increase in air conditioning usage has led to corresponding increases in the use of fuel-generated electricity and HFC refrigerants. This phenomenon potentially enhances the threat to our collective global efforts to ensure that ozone layer recovery rates remain on track and that global warming does not exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. To respond to this circumstance, I propose a 3-pronged approach. First, we must rapidly advance measures to develop and support implementation of alternative energy sources to power cooling equipment. Secondly, we must promote enhanced production and consumption of ozone and climate-friendly and energy-efficient cooling systems. And finally, and more importantly, we must ensure that lower global warming potential and energy-efficient cooling systems are available and accessible to all. In this regard, I look forward to working more closely with all parties to eliminate this potential threat. Distinguished delegates, in closing, I wish to thank the parties of Latin America and the Caribbean states for the opportunity to serve as the Vice President representative for our region on the Bureau of the 34th meeting of the parties, and I look forward to serving again. Moreover, I congratulate all parties on reaching an agreement on the decisions put forward to this high-level segment for adoption and decisions that will further enhance and advance our joint global efforts to fix the ozone layer and reduce climate change. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I now turn the floor over to the representative from Spain, Honorable Mr. Hugo Moran, Secretary of State of Environment of Spain, who will speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The next speaker will be Mauritius, followed by Kyrgyzstan. Excellency, you have the floor.
Señora Presidenta.
Presidents, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states, Spain would like to express its gratitude to Kenya for its hospitality in hosting the 35th meeting of the parties and in playing its role as its host for the meeting. I would also like to thank the Ozone Secretariat for its support to the parties through the many years of the Montreal Protocol's activities and ensuring the smooth running of this meeting. The Montreal Protocol is a clear example of the benefits that global cooperation can bring to environmental protection. In these 36 years of multilateral cooperation, the Montreal Protocol has become the most successful environmental treaty. It has prevented the enormous negative effects of UV radiation from the sun on human health, the Earth's surface, and its biosphere. For instance, thanks to Protocol, we've helped to prevent millions of cases of skin cancer and eye cataracts, as well as damage to crops and ecosystems. As you know, the Protocol also makes a significant contribution to climate protection. In 2016 in Kigali, all parties decided to take responsibility for the growing consumption and production of hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, potent greenhouse gases used to replace controlled ozone-depleting substances. In this regard, it is noteworthy that 155 parties have ratified the Kigali Amendment so far. But science warns us loud and clear. Our planet is warming at an unprecedented and shocking rate. We are already all feeling the impacts of the climate crisis. The time frame in which we can still keep to the 1.5 degrees centigrade limit is fast approaching. We should therefore not rest on what we've achieved so far. We must work together and go beyond what has already been achieved under the Montreal Protocol. Every tenth of a degree of temperature increase must be avoided. The lower the temperature at which global warming peaks, the less harmful the consequences will be. In this context, I can announce that the EU is in the process of finalising the revision of its own domestic legislation, which will allow the EU to take such additional steps. The achievements of this protocol have only been possible with the continued support of all the institutions involved. As parties, we highly value the scientific basis for our decisions and the expertise the assessment panels provide. We expect that their work will continue to assist the parties and provide the best possible support to them. The EU will continue to provide financial support for the work of the panels, over and above the member states' contributions to the regular budget as well. Over the past 4 years, the abundance of ozone-depleting substances in the atmosphere has decreased. Thanks to this, the recovery of the ozone layer is progressing, and it's hoped that the total ozone column in the Antarctic is expected to return to 1980s levels by around 2066. However, the protocol and its parties continue to face new environmental problems and challenges. 31 years ago, at the 4th meeting of the parties, the Multilateral Fund was established to enable parties to achieve and maintain compliance with the objectives of the protocol. The parties have, since the inception of the Multilateral Fund, contributed over 4 billion USD for 9,321 targeted ozone recovery projects to help Article 5 parties to meet their commitments under the protocol. During this meeting, the parties will, as they have done many times before, sit together and discuss the level of replenishment of the fund, this time for the triennium 2024-2026. The Technology and Economic Assessment Panel has provided us with one report and a supplementary report on the assessment of the funding requirements for the replenishment of the multilateral fund for the period 2024-2026. Although additional information is needed to complete our work, we now have before us the two documents before us that will form the basis of the work to enable parties to agree on a funding scenario at MOP35, and which will allow Article 5 countries to make significant progress towards meeting their compliance targets, including the deadlines set out in the Kigali Amendment. President, the EU is committed to contributing sufficient and stable funding so that Article 5 parties can meet their commitments under the protocol. Despite significant efforts, though, a number of outstanding issues continue to require our attention. While simultaneously new challenges arise, we acknowledge the importance of addressing HFCs. Nevertheless, it is extremely important to ensure that our previous efforts to phase out ozone-depleting substances are not undermined. It's essential to continue sharing information on the uses of ODSs and greenhouse chemicals as both feedstocks and very short-lived substances, and to better understand quarantine and pre-shipment uses of methyl bromide. And we urge parties to further adopt available alternatives to these exempted uses. Working together and looking for sensible ways to reduce these emissions would allow us to heal the ozone layer more rapidly. It's also essential to properly manage the existing banks of ozone-depleting substances and HFCs with updated technologies in order to prevent the release of these substances into the atmosphere. Furthermore, it's necessary to continue to study and control HFC 23 emissions generated as a byproduct in the production of other substances controlled under the Montreal Protocol because of its high global warming potential. Additionally, it's important to monitor the deployment of new substances that may create new environmental issues in the future, such as PFAS and related chemicals. When it comes to improving energy efficiency while phasing down HFCs, the EU and its member states acknowledge that switching from high global warming potential refrigerants to refrigerants with very low global warming potential, such as natural refrigerants, while improving energy efficiency equipment, would also bring environmental benefits and cost benefits when these options are more widely used. In this regard, the EU and its member states welcome with great interest the work undertaken by the Executive Committee of the Multilateral Fund on Energy Efficiency in the framework of Decision 28/2 and decisions already taken on this matter. We are at a crucial juncture for the protocol, as implementation of the Kigali Amendment begins next year for most Article 5 countries. At this point, it's necessary to review and improve the mechanisms for the implementation and enforcement of the Montreal Protocol, such as licensing systems, customs and police controls on substances and equipment, trade, procedures and mandates of the Implementation Committee in the event of infringements. We should improve the mechanisms of the Montreal Protocol to ensure the prevention of undesirable events that have occurred in the past. President, I conclude, the EU and its member states remain and continue to be fully committed to the protocol. We believe that we can continue to build on the success of the protocol to protect the ozone layer and contribute to the implementation of the Paris Agreement and several Sustainable Development Goals. An essential element for continued success is the implementation of new scientific findings and new industrial standards that enable a safe uptake of environmentally friendly, innovative and natural refrigerants and the continued development of new ones where needed. As parties, by working together in the spirit of mutual trust and future cooperation, with determination and goodwill, sustainable solutions can be found and ambitious results can be achieved at the global level. Allow me to wish for the Montreal Protocol and for the parties that we will take advantage of the experience we have gained so far and apply it wisely in the future for generations to come. Thank you for your attention, and happy 36th anniversary to the Montreal Protocol. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for speaking on behalf of European Union. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Mauritius, Honorable Mr. Kaidas Ramano, Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change. The next speaker will be Kyrgyzstan, followed by China. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me, on behalf of the Republic of Mauritius, to express my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to the Government of Kenya for hosting this meeting and for their warm welcome. I would also like to thank the Ozone Secretariat for the excellent organization and arrangements made for the meeting. Madam President, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you on your nomination to chair this high-level segment and assure you of the full cooperation and support of my delegation. I would like today to pay tribute to all those people who initiated actions for the Montreal Protocol. Today, undoubtedly, the world is witnessing the tremendous progress in the efforts to protect the ozone layer and at the same time to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. This success would not have been possible without the active participation and commitment of all parties to the Montreal Protocol. I can only wish that the lessons learned from the implementation of this highly successful protocol, particularly in relation to the cooperation between member states, could also be adapted to other multilateral agreements. Considering the proceedings of various meeting sessions of the past few days, we have all noted with great satisfaction the openness and frank discussion displayed during the various sessions. Indeed, such honesty and transparency have over the years become a trademark of this protocol. In my humble opinion, this is one of the reasons of the success of this protocol. Madam President, my country, the Republic of Mauritius, similar to other small island developing states, is highly vulnerable to both the impacts of climate change and ozone layer depletion. Conscious of these facts, environmental protection and sustainable development are given top consideration in the Mauritian government's agenda. In this line, Mauritius adhered to the Montreal Protocol in 1992 and has been actively engaged in implementing its provisions. We have phased out chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, in 2005, 5 years ahead of the set target of 2010. And in the same vein, we are now committed to phase out HCFCs by the year 2025, again 5 years ahead of the set target of 2030. The Republic of Mauritius has also ratified the Kigali Amendment on the 1st of October 2019, and preparatory works in view of the development of the Kigali Implementation Plan is in progress. 2 consultants have been recruited to undertake a national survey on HFC use and their attribution. We are expecting that the Kigali Implementation Plan, which will be carried out in collaboration with the GIZ, to be ready by the first quarter of 2024. Madam President, let me take this opportunity to mention a few other actions that are being implemented at our level. First, a database for trade in HFCs refrigerants has been established since 2020. 2, training of trainers with regard to the RAC sector related to use of natural refrigerants such as ammonia, carbon dioxide, and hydrocarbon is ongoing. 3, regular training of technicians of natural refrigerants is conducted. 4, in view to promote the use of carbon dioxide and ammonia, a cascade system has been set up at the training institution as a demonstration project. 5, sensitization campaigns for different stakeholders, such as importers, technicians, users of refrigerants, the public, amongst others, are regularly being carried out. Madam President, as a concluding remark, allow me on behalf of the government of Mauritius to sincerely thank the Multilateral Fund, the Ozone Secretariat, our implementing agencies, namely GIZ and UNEP, and our donors for their guidance and unflinching support. We rely on their continuous financial and technical assistance to ensure the smooth implementation of the provisions under the Montreal Protocol and its Kigali Amendment. With these words, Madam President and ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency. This was exactly 5 minutes. Very much appreciated. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Kyrgyzstan, Ms. Asel Raimkulova, Deputy Minister of Natural Resources, Ecology and Technical Supervision. The next speaker will be China, followed by Somalia. Madame Raimkulova, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Madam President, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Kyrgyzstan would like to express its deep appreciation to the government of Kenya and the Ozone Secretariat for the excellent organization of the meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol. We also congratulate the newly elected president of the 35th Conference of the Parties, the vice presidents and members of the working bodies of the protocol, and wish them every possible success and fruitful work. The Kyrgyz Republic has, since the ratification of the Montreal Protocol in 2000, come a long way, starting from the identification of ODS consumption sectors and stakeholders to the complete phase-out of all types of ozone-depleting substances from all sectors of the economy. The government has been consistent in its adoption of 3 state ODS phase-out programs over 20 years and monitored the implementation strictly, which made it possible to achieve zero HCFC consumption by January 1st, 2020, 10 years ahead of the protocol schedule. The issues of climate change and the protection of the ozone layer have always taken pride of place in the state policy of the Kyrgyz Republic, something which has been repeatedly stressed in previous Kyrgyz statements during the various conferences of the parties. The Kyrgyz Republic is on the list of the most vulnerable states in the face of climate change, which affects the state of mountain glaciers, water resources, biodiversity, and the increase in the number of natural disasters. The president of our country, addressing the 26th UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland, in 2021, set out bold and ambitious goals for the state to stem climate change, setting new parameters for reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 44% by 2030 and achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. With the ratification of the Kigali Amendment by Kyrgyzstan in 2020, the process of fulfilling commitments in terms of reducing HFC consumption and improving energy efficiency under the Montreal Protocol and the Paris Agreement on climate change was launched. Now, regarding a number of important issues on the current agenda of the 35th Conference of the Parties, the Kyrgyz delegation would like to share the following. Firstly, Kyrgyzstan supports the proposed adjustment to the Montreal Protocol submitted by Cuba. We have witnessed real problems in states' economies as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and their impact on determining the baseline for HFC consumption of developing countries. This artificial reduction has an impact on the amount of funding for future projects from the Multilateral Fund. Secondly, energy-efficient technologies and technologies with lower zero global warming potential using, for example, obsolete refrigerants reduces to naught our aspirations for energy efficiency breakthroughs. In this regard, Kyrgyzstan supports the draft decision proposed by Ghana to stop the export of obsolete equipment based on ODS and HFC from developed to developing countries. Now, we would like to draw your attention to the decision of the 27th Conference of the Parties on preventing unwanted imports of products and equipment containing or using HCFCs, which was presented by Kyrgyzstan in 2015 with Armenia, Belarus, the European Union, and the Russian Federation. Now, a similar approach to managing equipment and goods based on HCFCs is contained in the draft decision proposed by Ghana. Thirdly, with regard to identifying gaps in the global coverage of atmospheric monitoring of regulated substances and options for strengthening such monitoring, identifying suitable locations for possible high-frequency measurements, and sampling in regions not or insufficiently covered by existing atmospheric monitoring, Kyrgyzstan would like to propose that the existing potential and capacity of the Issyk-Kul National Ozone Research Station, established back in 1989 and which has operated ever since, be utilized for stratospheric studies in the Central Asian region. The unique location of the station, in an environmentally clean region of the planet, far from industrial centers, would allow the global scientific community to continuously study the impact of unanticipated emissions of regulated substances and ensure long-term monitoring of the atmosphere of ozone and ultraviolet radiation. We cherish the hope that during this Conference of the Parties, delegates will make the necessary decisions regarding all agenda items and will do so by consensus. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madame. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from China, Ms. Guomei Zhu, Director General, Department of International Cooperation, Ministry of Ecology and Environment. The next speaker will be Somalia, followed by Egypt. Madame, you have the floor.
Distinguished Madam President of MOP35, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of the Chinese delegation, I would like to thank the government and the people of Kenya for their warm hospitality and the Ozone Secretariat for their thoughtful arrangement for the meeting. I would like to congratulate the chair's election and the bureau's election. This year marks the 36th anniversary of the Montreal Protocol. Over the past 36 years, parties have worked together to fulfill their obligations of phasing out controlled substances. Over 99% of ODS have been phased out globally, meeting our compliance targets on schedule. The ozone layer is recovering as expected, which not just helps mitigate climate change, but also sets a successful example of international solidarity in addressing global environmental issues. We firmly believe that the success of the protocol lies in the mutual trust and the concerted efforts of all parties, resulting from our hard work and the collective wisdom of the ozone family. The valuable experience of success will provide important guidance to our future implementation process and will serve as a paradigm for the international community to follow when jointly tackling other global challenges, including climate change. As a responsible developing country, China attaches great importance to ecology and environment protection and earnestly fulfills its obligations under international environment conventions. Since accession to the protocol, China has overcome numerous difficulties such as industrial transformation, technological challenges, and the reemployment of the workforce. We have taken active measures to phase out controlled substances, vigorously promoted green and low-carbon alternative technologies, and made great efforts and sacrifices. A total of 628,000 tons of ODS have been phased out in production and consumption, accounting for more than half of the total phase-out volume in developing countries. Relevant studies show that during 3 decades from 1991 to 2020, when China carried out its ODS phase-out, around 26 billion tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gas emission was avoided. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at a critical stage in implementing the protocol. Developing countries are faced with daunting challenges, and new tasks also require joint efforts from all parties. The success of the protocol has proved that only when all parties work together can challenges be truly addressed. Together with the international community, China will resolutely uphold and practice true multilateralism, uphold the principle of a common but differentiated responsibility, and the principle of a consensus, actively join and contribute to play an important role in the global coordinated efforts to protect the ozone layer and address climate change, and make its due contributions to building a community of all life on Earth and to global sustainable development. Madam President, I believe that under your wise and able leadership and with the concerted efforts of all parties, this meeting will be a complete success. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, all delegates.
Thank you very much, Madam. And now I'm turning the floor over to the representative from Somalia, Mr. Adam I. Ohirsi, Minister of State, Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. Next speaker will be Egypt, followed by Jordan. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Madam President, congratulations on your election as the president of this MOP. Somalia wishes you success in all your future endeavors. I am honored to represent the Federal Republic of Somalia at this crucial meeting of parties for the Montreal Protocol. First, I would like to thank the government and the people of Kenya for the warm hospitality. I also wish to equally appreciate the UNEP Ozone Secretariat for impeccably and diligently organizing this very effective and splendid meeting. Madam President, Somalia acknowledges the critical importance of this international agreement in safeguarding the Earth's stratospheric ozone layer, that vital shield that protects life on our planet from harmful ultraviolet radiation. My country is acutely aware the serious environmental and health consequences associated with the depletion of the ozone layer. In that light, Somalia hereby proudly announces its ratification of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol, becoming the 90th country to ratify this agreement to phase down HFC refrigerants. This decisive step, it wasn't easy, reflects our unwavering dedication to the global efforts to phase down the production and consumption of HFCs and mitigate negative impact that it causes to our climate. Madam President, Somalia is undeniably one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. The challenges we face are formidable, ranging from intensified droughts and floods to escalating temperatures. These climatic shifts exacerbate existing vulnerabilities and jeopardize the livelihoods of our citizens. It's imperative, therefore, that in response to this, we take decisive, collective, I repeat, collective action to mitigate these efforts. Somalia is diligently implementing measures to ensure the responsible management and use of substances listed under the Montreal Protocol. We are actively engaged in capacity building initiatives technology transfer programs, and knowledge-sharing endeavors aimed at fortifying our national capacities to address challenges related to ozone-depleting substances. In the pursuit of our shared goals, Somalia calls upon the international community to foster further partnerships, provide more technical and financial support, and facilitate the transfer of environmentally sound technologies. Only by collectively strengthening our resolve and resources, we can further accelerate the transition towards cleaner and more sustainable alternatives. Madam President, Excellencies, partners, and distinguished participants, in conclusion, Somalia reiterates its commitment to the Montreal Protocol and the Kigali Amendment. We stand ready to work hand in hand with our international partners towards a future where our shared goals of ozone layer preservation and climate resilience is achieved. I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to turn floor over to the representative from Egypt, His Excellency Mr. Wael Atia, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Embassy of the Arab Republic of Egypt. To announce next speaker will be Jordan, followed by Mozambique. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. سيد الرئيس، السيدات والسادة.
Thank you so much, Madam President, Excellencies. Allow me at the outset to greet this meeting, so important for the preservation of the environment and human health. I'm gratified to be able to share with you the success obtained in preserving the ozone layer for over 36 years, the 36 years that have passed since the signing of the Montreal Protocol, and which served as the first convention for the protection of the environment and which enjoys universal support and approval from all states around the world, and is therefore a model of success in terms of joint international action, which we cherish the hope will be imitated by all other agreements. Now, Egypt wishes to associate itself with the rest of the world in working to restore the ozone layer by the middle of this century. And we have always attached a great deal of importance to the preservation of the ozone layer. From the very beginning, we were one of the pioneers of the 1985 Vienna Convention, the 87 Montreal Protocol, and under the leadership of the late scientist Mr. Mustafa Tolbat, who was the former and first executive director of the United Nations Programme for the Environment, and the birth father of the Montreal Protocol. Egypt has also participated in the creation of the Multilateral Committee for the Ozone Layer, with Egyptian participation, which has enjoyed the support and trust of all the parties to the protocol, and which meant that Mr. Omar Al-Onarini was appointed to take on a leadership position in the fund for the first 10 years at a national level. Egypt has set up the first national unit for the protection of the ozone layer in African states and Arab states. And in 1993, we set up the first project aimed at phasing out ODS substances. And this, of course, is a point of pride for Egypt. Since then, we have launched a bold project for the protection of the environment and the ozone layer, and which includes the implementation of a great many projects with a great deal of investment aimed at finding alternatives i.e. substances which respect the environment. We have eliminated the use of close to 99.3% of ozone-depleting substances, and to reduce our emissions by 18 million tons of CO2 equivalent. Egypt continues to work on its programs aimed at the phase-out of all of these substances, and which are aimed at reducing its consumption by 70 by 2024 and eliminate all ozone-depleting substances by 2030. Madam President, Egypt has ratified the Kigali Amendment, which includes HCFCs on the regulated list of substances pursuant to the Montreal Protocol, and we wish to urge all countries who have not done so yet to sign and indeed ratify this amendment as rapidly as is possible. Egypt cherishes a hope that the Kigali Amendment will put an end to 500 million tons of CO2 equivalent, which we hope will contribute to the effort of reducing the temperature of the planet by 2100, I apologize. We are wedded to the process of protecting the ozone layer and then the environment via national action, while preserving the environment and the ozone layer, amongst others, through cooperation with local and international partners, to come up with innovative technologies which stand to contribute to the protection of the environment as well as the ozone layer to achieve sustainable development. Madam President, Egypt notes with a great deal of concern that an increasing number of attempts have been made to include controversial political issues on the agenda of international technical forums and organizations, including the meeting of the parties or the States Party to the Montreal Protocol. This is why we wish to reaffirm the importance of preserving this climate of cooperation, which has always prevailed within the framework of the Montreal Protocol. And in conclusion, I would like to pay tribute to all of the colleagues of the Montreal Fund and all of our international and regional partners who have lent us all the necessary technical support to ensure that we continue our work in favor of the environment and human health. It but remains to me to express our gratitude to both the government and people of Kenya for their very warm welcome. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your statement. Now I would like to turn floor over to the representative from Jordan, His Excellency, Mr. Firas Kauri, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Embassy of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Next speaker will be Mozambique, followed by Cuba. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. السيد الرئيس السيد
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Executive Director of the United Nations Programme for the Environment, Madam Executive Director of the Ozone Secretariat, good afternoon to all. Now, at the outset, allow me to express my gratitude and my appreciation to the government and people of the Republic of Kenya for having so warmly hosted this meeting. I should also, Madam President, wish to congratulate you upon your election. We also wish to thank the Secretariat as well as the Executive Director for all of the preparations which were made. Ladies and gentlemen, my country, Jordan, was one of the very first states to adhere to the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol back in 1989. Jordan has ratified all of the amendments to the protocol, including, of course, the Kigali Amendment, which we ratified in 2019. These amendments are necessary ones. We have passed the laws and systems for licensing, monitoring, control, import, re-export, and so forth of these substances. We continue to work to freeze our consumption of HCFCs and HFCs by 2024 and reduce them progressively according to the schedules which were adopted pursuant to our protocol as well as the Kigali Amendment. The national strategy for the progressive elimination of these substances was adopted in 2011. And we were in a position to eliminate 75% of these substances during the first and second phases of this strategy, where the use of these substances was ceased in the field of air conditioning, of refrigeration, as well as commercial refrigeration. We have also taken into account the aspect of energy efficiency. So we are right now preparing the third phase and intend to submit it to the Executive Committee next year to eliminate 97.5% of these substances by 2030, in keeping with the schedule which was adopted by the protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kigali Amendment has added a great deal of additional burden to developing states, resulting from the implementation of pilot programs aimed at testing alternatives, low global warming potential alternatives. The industrial sector has had to strengthen its capacities. The whole system for issuing licenses, for quotas, for import, re-export, and so forth had to be changed. Our laws and legislation had to be updated. Norms and standards had to be changed. Procedures for obtaining them were also changed. The technical rules and standards for refrigerants and flammable substances and highly toxic substances had to be changed and updated. And of course, it also involved the modernization of public security and safety systems. We therefore have to adopt a budget which will be sufficient over the next 3 years to ensure the implementation of all pilot projects in favor of alternative substances, including all regions, and expand financing to meet the needs of Article 5 states and to enable us to remain in compliance with the stipulations of the Kigali Amendment and eliminate HCFCs and therefore preserve the ozone layer around the global day or the World Day, the World Ozone Day. The World Ozone Day is an opportunity to raise awareness, the awareness of the population, of our civil society, with all of its segments. And there will be workshops and conferences that will be organized. The media is always invited, and this will be most useful. Madam President, the protection of the ozone layer and of the climate in Jordan enjoys the full attention of decision makers and the government, as well as all segments of society. We wish to strengthen our partnership with all international organizations, as well as regional ones and civil society institutions, and to work as part of a team spirit. By way of conclusion, we should like ladies and gentlemen, and especially to you, Madam President, to extend our gratitude again, as well as to Executive Committee, the Implementation Committee, the Secretariat of the Montreal Fund, the implementing agencies who have all discharged their financial duties in keeping with their promises. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your statement. Now I'm giving the floor to the representative from Mozambique, His Excellency Mr. Geronimo Chivavi, High Commissioner and Permanent Representative to Nairobi. Next speakers will be Cuba, followed by Costa Rica. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Your Excellency, Madam Chair, all the protocol observed. Allow me, on behalf of the government of Mozambique, to congratulate you, Chair Madam, on the noble mission of sharing the work of the 35th meeting of the state parties to the Montreal Protocol on ozone depleting chemicals. Mozambique would like to share its experience in solving the environmental problems that plague the planet. There is huge expectation in many nations of positives outcome of this meeting. Mozambique thinks that this is appropriate forum for sharing experiences, discussing and recommending measures aimed of mitigating the problems of the emission of chemical that plague the ozone layer, as well as greenhouse gases used in the environmental sectors of economic activities in this matter, and it has made huge progress. Likewise, Mozambique approves in 2019 the resolution that ratified the Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol on Sustainable that deplete the ozone layer, an instrument that allow the management of substances harmful to human health, the environment, and the national economy. Within the framework of the Vienna Convention for the protection and ozone layer, Mozambique has been taking measures toward eliminating the production, export, import, trade of equipment and chemical substances harmful to public health, industry, and the environmental usage in the refrigeration and air conditioning in various sectors. Due to its geographical location, Mozambique is a victim of natural phenomenon that annually devastate the entire coastline of the country, so it has natural obligation to contribute with concrete actions for the environment. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, today we have the challenge of moving from words to concrete actions such as environment training, technical assistance, financing of environmental projects, transfer of knowledge and technology to the developing countries. Mozambique recognizes the challenges for the effective implementation of the Vienna Convention, Montreal Protocol, for the protection of ozone layer. This desideratum requires the involvement of different stakeholders to achieve the noble cause of protecting the atmosphere for the generation to come. Allow me to conclude, Madam Chair, by thanking the support given by the Multilateral Fund, the Ozone Secretariat, and all implementing agencies, partners in supporting our effort in order to comply and implement the provisions of the Montreal Protection Protocol in my country, which has allowed us to achieve important results in reducing imports of HCFCs, chemical substances. I would like to take this opportunity to express Mozambique's desire to host the next meeting of the state parties to the Montreal Protocol on ozone depleting chemical, and for that we do count on your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your statement. Now, I would like to invite to the floor representative from Cuba, His Excellency, Mr. Juan Manuel Rodriguez Vasquez, Ambassador of the Republic of Cuba. Next speaker will be Costa Rica, followed by Cambodia. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. Gracias. Excelentísimo.
Ms. Inga Anderson, Executive Director of UNEP. Ms. Megumi Seki Nakamura, Executive Secretary of the Montreal Protocol and the Ozone Secretariat. Dear colleagues and participants, President, we would like to thank the Presidency of the Republic of Kenya for hosting this important event in its beautiful and diverse country. We would like to thank the Republic of Kenya for hosting this important event in its beautiful and diverse country. We are pleased to be here with the infinite possibilities offered to us in being able to attend this meeting and interact with the attending delegations, both in person and virtually, in order to together find a sustainable solution to the new environmental challenges that face us each and every day. Our economies are reeling from the recent pandemic that caused so much damage to our populations and economies, but we cannot give up. Environmental issues are adding up, and in many cases getting worse, leaving us with very little time to take decisive action that at least aims to slow down the process of deterioration of our shared home on Earth. Action is needed. Action that is concrete, inclusive, effective, and above all, regional and global in scope, where we all pull together in the same direction to reverse the harm that's been done to Mother Nature, our ecosystems, and our populations. It will be our duty to raise awareness of the need to work to solve common problems. We know that this is no easy task. It will require the application of science and innovation. It will require great efforts, including of a financial and technological nature. Most of the countries in our region are developing countries that require secure sources of financing, as well as advanced technologies, in order to achieve the objectives that we have set out for ourselves at both the national and global levels. Cuba has set out a national action plan called Tarea Vida, or Life Task, to combat the effects of climate change, which greatly affects small island developing states such as ours. We have very low emissions, but are very vulnerable to the enormous impacts of climate change. In addition, this work becomes doubly difficult when we also have to face unilateral, restrictive measures that not only prevent access to clean and advanced technologies, financing, and new experiences, but also make it much more difficult, although not impossible, to care for the environment and implement a strategy for the development of science and the implementation of our national plans, in which environmental issues have great relevance. Before concluding, I would just like to mention that the recent meetings, both the ministerial meeting and the summit of the Group of 77 plus China, held in July and September respectively, have demonstrated that our countries are willing to search for solutions to environmental issues. In the final declarations of both meetings, the important role of science, technology, and innovation as pillars, facilitators, and catalysts to support sustained, inclusive, and sustainable growth was reflected. In those fora, it was reiterated that political decision-making at all levels must foster an international environment conducive to the development of science, technology, and innovation, to take into account as a priority scientific knowledge and innovation, as well as the use and promotion of traditional, local, and indigenous skills and knowledge. We hope that as a result of these meetings, we can address shared environmental challenges and advance the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals to achieve the world we want. A world of peaceful and sustainable societies capable of coexisting with our environment. As expressed by Comrade Fidel Castro Ruz, leader of the Cuban Revolution, we have to use science and technology not to destroy, but to create, to overcome poverty, to protect and prolong life, and to bring well-being to humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your statement. And now I'd like to invite representative from Costa Rica, Her Excellency Mrs. Giovanna Valverde Stark, Ambassador and Permanent Representative. Speakers to follow will be Palestine and then Yemen. Excellency, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, President. Costa Rica is very pleased to take part in this 35th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol. We would like to first of all thank the government of Kenya for its warm welcome to this wonderful country. We'd also like to thank the Secretariat for organising this event. During the past few days, in the sessions held and in workshops and contact groups, topics of relevance to our country have been discussed, such as those related to energy efficiency, in particular during the workshop organised last Sunday, and issues concerning the life cycle management of refrigerants. These issues can be addressed under a circular economy approach, whose principles strive to ensure that the design, production, use and disposal of products have the lowest possible impact on the climate. It also seeks to keep the materials in the economic cycle for as long as possible. However, as mentioned, the most efficient technologies are often not available or have higher prices in markets such as ours. Despite the efforts made to take up air conditioning equipment with natural refrigerants, our market has not been attractive to the large producers and manufacturers of this equipment. So, thus far, our efforts have not borne fruit. For the widespread take-up of new technologies, we need to break down the resistance of the various actors in the market. Through training and awareness raising, we need to bring in importers, users and maintenance technicians in this work, given that all these actors need to feel secure enough to buy, use and maintain this type of technology. The financing received within the framework of the protocol through the Multilateral Fund has been one of the factors of success, allowing developing countries to address the challenges and barriers that must be overcome to achieve the objectives established under the Montreal Protocol. Therefore, we urge you to consider the needs of developing countries in the process of replenishment, which is currently being carried out. We need to ensure that financing is maintained under conditions that effectively meet these challenges. We have always faced them ourselves with the highest commitment to sustainability, including its social, environmental, and economic dimensions. We should recall that Costa Rica ratified the Kigali Amendment in 2017. This shows once again our commitment to the Montreal Protocol and the process to eliminate this new family of refrigerants according to the schedule set out. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for giving the statement. Before giving the floor to the next representative of the high-level statements, I would like to announce that we will have this agenda number 5 up to 5:30, and then we will switch to preparatory segment up to 6 o'clock. So this is one announcement. And now I would like to give a floor over to the representative from Palestine, His Excellency Mr. Hazim Shabat, Ambassador and Permanent Observer. Next speakers to be Yemen and Cambodia. Excellency, you have the floor.
Shukran.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. At the outset, I would like to congratulate you and the members of Distinguished Bureau. I wish you all success, and I would like also through you to thank the members of the former Bureau for their efforts at the service of the parties. I also thank the Executive Secretary and her team in the Ozone Secretariat for their outstanding offers. I also would like to thank the Kenyan government for their warm hospitality. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, The State of Palestine is one of the least contributing countries to the depletion of the ozone layer. Since the signing of the Vienna Convention and Protocol of Montreal on the depletion of ozone layer and in 2019, and in order to implement its national obligations, the State of Palestine has developed and implemented many technical and regulatory measures, in addition to submitting its national reports on substances that deplete the ozone layer. Furthermore, the State of Palestine has enacted a number of laws on the sound management of chemicals, their use, their importing and exporting, and with a view to combating the illegal production and trade of hazardous materials, including ozone-depleting substances. We're also cooperating with all partners and stakeholders. And in order for us to protect the environment and address the effects of climate change, the State of Palestine is protecting the ozone layer to help mitigate global warming and prevent the rise in global temperatures. We're doing this by using ozone-friendly gases and by promoting energy efficiency. We're also educating importers of refrigerators and air conditioners on the necessity to import environmental friendly and energy efficient appliances. We're also educating our users on the efficient use of energy and the use of environment-friendly, energy-efficient appliances. Well, we've faced many challenges, including the Israeli occupation that violates the countless resolutions of the United Nations bodies, and most particularly those of the Security Council. The magnitude of the massive destruction inflicted by the brutal occupation over decades can no longer be hidden. Today, we find ourselves facing a new Israeli inhumane aggression on the Gaza Strip, which has so far claimed the lives of around 7,000 persons and tens of thousands of injured, most of whom are women and children. This aggression has also caused massive destruction through the deliberate bombing of thousands of residential facilities and places of worship, including churches, mosques, hospitals, and health facilities. Hundreds of factories of all categories and of all sorts of production, cars and commercial means of transport have been destroyed. A massive number of air conditioning and refrigeration units have also been destroyed without any regard for the controlled substances they contain. Mr. President, according to the report on the state of the environment in the occupied Palestinian territory, issued by the United Nations Environment Programme in 2020, the tight control of the occupying power of all border crossings with neighbor countries, and the control of the roads linking Palestinian cities and towns, and its control of the resources of the Palestinian people, as well as the occupation's contribution to polluting the Palestinian environment. All of this is undermining our ability to implement and meet our obligations under the Montreal Protocol. Mr. President, we have followed with interest the important issues that have been discussed this week, and we are trying to meet our commitments despite the multiple challenges. Cooperation is key to leaving no one behind. Well, the delegation of Palestine stresses the centrality of mechanisms in place. As we are members of the list of Article 5 of the protocol, we look forward to receiving increased support provided under Article 5 to build our national capacities and increase our expertise and to be able to play our role fully to preserve the important. I would like to thank you and thank the Ozone Secretariat for all the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Yemen, Honorable Mr. Abdul Salam Alawadi, Head of Mission, Charge d'Affaires, and Permanent Representative of Embassy of the Republic of Yemen. Next speaker will be Cambodia, followed by Indonesia. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شكرا السيد الرئيس.
Thank you very much, President. First of all, please allow me to thank you for presiding over our meeting, the 35th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol. We wish you every success in your role. We would also like to extend our sincere thanks to the government and people of Kenya, who have warmly welcomed us to the green city of Nairobi. We would also like to thank the Ozone Secretariat, as well as all the bodies, institutions, and participants present here. Presidents, Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Without a doubt, the Montreal Protocol and its mechanisms have demonstrated excellent international cooperation. Such as other international conventions, they strive to remove obstacles and limit the harmful effects of climate change. Yemen has for many years been working with international partners in order to ratify the Montreal Protocol. Our country has followed the developments within the protocol for many years as well, taking necessary measures at national level until we became a full party in 2001. We then also became a party to the Beijing Amendment. We've worked hard to achieve all the objectives to control ozone-depleting substances within our country under the Montreal Protocol. And to meet phase-out requirements, we've also worked with other parties since 2007 and have striven to keep to all deadlines set out. President, the coup d'etat in Yemen against state institutions in 2014 made work in favor of the environment more difficult. This conflict has a great environmental and human impact right up to the present day. In 2015, this conflict really erupted in Yemen. So it's been very difficult for Montreal Protocol representatives to come to the ground in Yemen to continue our work to phase out and phase down ozone-depleting substances. We have a certain number of institutional support projects to try and carry out this work and to build capacity. We have awareness-raising campaigns. And we have various programs working with universities, civil society, and exemption providing systems. So we do continue our work, though. We try and work throughout all sectors of society to try and meet our challenges and to submit all necessary reports under the Montreal Protocol. President, ladies and gentlemen, the Montreal Protocol has now entered a very important phase. Historical consensus was achieved in Kigali, in Rwanda, in 2016. The Kigali Amendment brought more substances under the Montreal Protocol. At present, our vision is also linked to climate change as a whole. The Montreal Protocol is a cornerstone for all these efforts, and the Multilateral Fund also plays a very important role for Article 5 countries. This enables adequate support to be provided to various sectors within developing countries, in particular within the refrigeration, air conditioning sectors, which face several challenges within countries. In particular, we are placing emphasis on energy efficiency. All parties have shown that it is very important to change tack and really address all the challenges in new substances arising and to help, in particular, Article 5 countries achieve these goals. Once again, President, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reiterate our commitment to the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. Since it is very difficult for us to meet in Parliament in Sana'a, we will continue to work, ladies and gentlemen, despite all the obstacles faced due to conflicts in our country, to definitively comply with all the conditions under the Montreal Protocol. I would like to take this opportunity to call to the Executive Committee of the Montreal Protocol and other agencies to give a new impetus within Yemen to our work and our partnerships. We need to work together to find solutions and means to help Yemen overcome its conflict in order to implement the protocol. So I'd like to thank all bodies and institutions, and thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, very much for giving your statement. And now I will turn the floor over to the representative from Cambodia, His Excellency Mr. Pak Sok Harawut, Under-Secretary of State, Ministry of Environment. Next speakers will be Indonesia, followed by Malaysia. Excellency, you have the floor.
Distinguished Madam President, Madam Megumi Seki Nakamura, the Executive Secretary of the Ozone Secretariat, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Ministry of Environment of the Kingdom of Cambodia and my delegation, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the government of Kenya for their gracious hospitality in hosting this important gathering in Nairobi. We also wish to extend our deep appreciation to the Ozone Secretariat, led by Madame Megumi, for their tireless effort in the meticulously organizing and facilitating this meeting. Your dedication to the cause of ozone layer protection and environmental protection is truly commendable. We are gathering here to discuss the crucial issue of the effective implementation of the Kigali Amendment and its alignment with the Cambodian Pentagonal Strategy Phase 1. We acknowledge the critical role this initiative plays in reducing global climate change while advancing our national development goal, particular toward realizing the Cambodian Vision 2050. The Montreal Protocol has long been a beacon of global environmental stewardship. It is a testament to our collective commitment to protect our planet and combat climate change. The Kigali Amendment represents a significant milestone in our journey to address hydrofluorocarbon potent greenhouse gas with a high global warming potential. Cambodia stands resolute in its dedication to fulfill its obligation under this amendment, understanding that doing so is vital for the health of our planet and future generations. In parallel, Cambodia has embarked on the transformative path outlined in the Pentagonal Strategy Phase 1, which seeks for foster growth, employment, equity, efficiency, and sustainability. This strategy forms the bedrock of our effort to realizing the Cambodia Vision 2015, which envisions a prosperous developed nation that upholds the environmental responsibility. First and foremost, the Kigali Amendment and then phase round of the HCFC are integral to our sustainable growth objective. By embracing low global warming potential technology for cooling appliance, we can drive economic development and open doors for innovation. We recognize the potential for the creation of new green jobs and industry that align with the principle of our Pentagonal strategy. Secondly, the transition of cleaner, more sustainable technology presents an opportunity to address employment disparity and promote equity. We are committed to ensuring that the benefits of the transition are accessible to all, including marginalized communities. Through targeting policy and inclusive initiative, we aim to bridge gap and promote social equality. Secondly, thirdly, the adoption of energy efficiency not only aligns with our environment responsibility, but also enhance the competitiveness of our industry and economic development. We view this as a win-win scenario, where environmental stewardship and economic efficiency go hand in hand. Lastly, we firmly believe that our action to face down HFC are essential to achieve environmental sustainability and reducing global climate change. As a nation, we are determined to do our part in reducing greenhouse gas emission, mitigation the impact of climate change, and safeguarding environment for current and future generations. In conclusion, Cambodia's commitment to the Montreal Protocol and the Kigali Amendment is unwavering. We understand that these agreements are not just environmental responsibility, but also opportunity for sustainable development. We are much forward toward realizing the Cambodia Vision 2050. We invite collaboration with the global community to accelerate our effort in reducing HFC, combating climate change, and building a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future for our nation and the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your statement. Now, I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Indonesia, Mrs. Lakshmi Dewanti, Head of Delegation, Director General for Climate Change of Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Next speakers will be Malaysia, followed by Venezuela. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace and blessing of Allah be upon us. Madam President, Excellencies, Executive Secretary of the UN Environment Ozone Secretariat, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Indonesia, I would like to express our utmost gratitude to the government and the people of Kenya for the great hospitality to all delegations and to the Ozone Secretariat for preparing and convening this high-level meeting. I would also like to congratulate you, Madam President, for assuming the presidency of this MOP session. We are confident that under your able leadership, this meeting will generate the most applicable outcomes for all parties. Madam President, the theme of World Ozone Day 2023 reflects the ongoing implementations of the protocol that has been successful in taking measures to fix the ozone layer through the phase-out ozone-depleting substance and extending its benefit for climate change action by phasing down the HFCs under the provisions of the Kigali Amendment. This going implementation stresses that the effort of fixing the ozone layer and reducing impact of climate change are highly related, since we all know that many of the ozone-depleting substances also have global warming potential. Since 1992, numerous effort has been made by Indonesia to fulfill its obligation under the Montreal Protocol and the Vienna Convention. The commitment goes even stronger after ratifications of the Kigali Amendment on December 2022, which has been entered into force on March this year. The implementations of the Kigali Amendment will also boost our commitment in Paris Agreement in climate action, as well as the implementation of Indonesia enhanced nationally determined contributions toward low greenhouse gas emission and climate resilience future. Madam President, based on the Article 7 and country program reports for the year 2022, Indonesia has been recorded to achieve around 3.7 million metric tons HCFC phased out, calculated from its baseline of HSCFC consumption, or has been phasing out as much as 59.37% from the agreed baseline. As a party to the Kigali Amendment, Indonesia has always put its best effort into fulfilling the obligation of the amendment. In its early implementation, Indonesia has submitted HFC's consumption reports during the baseline years, as well as finalizing the process of issuing the licensing for the HFCs as mandated. I would like to emphasize that our government put its best effort into making this licensing system available and complying with the Kigali Amendment. We will continue to report to the Ozone Secretariat on the progress made for the establishment of the licensing system for HFCs, as well as its implementation. Our strong commitment is also manifested in our effort to strengthen cross-ministries coordinations to monitor HFC's consumption by evaluating import data of 2023 quarterly. The government of Indonesia is optimistic that the freeze target on HFC consumption by 1st January 2024 will stay on the right track. Madam President, in conclusion, I would like to emphasize the importance of common commitment between parties and the spirit to continuously implement the Montreal Protocol in order to fix the ozone layer as well as to reduce the impact of climate change. All parties of the Kigali Amendment should more engage with all stakeholders and strongly pursue innovative, not business-as-usual action. Our ozone layer needs our strong commitment as well as collective and collaborative concrete action, as we must save our only planet Earth for us and for our generation to come. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your statement. And now I would like to invite a representative from Malaysia to take the floor, Mr. Van Abdullatif bin Van Jafar, Director General of Environment. Next speakers will be Venezuela, followed by Vietnam. Sir, you have the floor.
Ms. Azrar Grubik, the President of 35th Meeting of Parties to the Montreal Protocol. Ms. Megumi Seki Nakamura, Executive Secretary of Ozone Secretariat. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. First and foremost, on behalf of the Government of Malaysia, I want to start off by heartily congratulating you, Mr. President, Madam President, on your well-deserved election as President of the 35th Meeting of the Parties to the Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete the Ozone Layer. I would also like to express our gratitude to the Government of Kenya and the United Nations for their outstanding efforts in organizing and facilitating this important meeting. Madam President, I would like to assure you that Malaysia stands firmly behind your dedicated efforts to make this meeting a success. The commencement of the 35th Meeting of Parties in 2023 marks 35 years of unwavering global commitment to the protection of the ozone layer. This effort has shown result in the healing of the ozone layer, which has been proven by the scientific community around the world. The success of protecting the ozone layer serves as a remarkable example of what can be achieved in addressing the triple planetary crisis through international cooperation. As a committed party to the Montreal Protocol, Malaysia has achieved a significant milestone by successfully completing Stage 1 of the HCFC Phase-Out Management Plan. In 2015, Malaysia exceeded its HCFC import reduction target, achieving a 19% reduction compared to the initial goal of 10%. And in 2022, we have successfully recorded approximately a 64% reduction in HCFC consumption for Malaysia, which exceeded the 43% reduction target set by the Montreal Protocol. We are now approaching the end of Stage 2 of HPMP, where 40 enterprises under the foam sector have benefited from the technology conversion project. On 1st January 2023, Malaysia banned the importation of HCFC 141B in the foam sector and remained 1 ODP ton in the solvent sector. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia ratified the Kigali Amendment regarding the phase down of HCFCs on 21st October 2020. 2 months ago, we just completed the study and preparation for Malaysia Kigali Implementation Plan, or KIP. Our strategic vision for the phase down of HCFCs is to achieve a balance between achieving national climate commitment and Montreal Protocol obligation through action that support sustained economic growth. In KIP Stage 1, we provide comprehensive plan for reducing HFC use in numerous sectors, industries, and government agencies, highlighting our dedication to this critical work. Beginning 1st January 2024, Malaysia will establish the HFC quota allocation system as part of its commitment under the Kigali Amendment to regulate the import and export of HFC. However, we wish to seek sufficient funding, particularly for the KIP Stage 1, as this funding is important to support Malaysia in successfully execute the plan. At this juncture, Malaysia views that achieving the HFC phase down is a great challenge, particularly in A5 countries, unless affordable and competitive alternatives and technologies are readily accessible in the country. There are still uncertainties regarding other important matters such as safety standards pertaining to the flammability, toxicity, and high pressure of the new emerging or alternative substances. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that capacity building and technical assistance be made available to national ozone officers and related stakeholders to enhance their knowledge on the subject. We would like to make the most of this opportunity to express our gratitude to the protocol for all the support, especially in providing financial assistance through the multilateral fund for the implementation of all obligations under the protocol. Malaysia firmly believes that it is essential for the multilateral fund to consider sufficient funding for supporting the capacity building and technical assistance initiative for the A5 countries during the upcoming replenishment period from 2024 to 2026. We would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the donor parties for continuing their dedicated commitment to providing necessary and adequate financial assistance to ensure the successful implementation of the protocol. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to express our commitment and support for the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. I firmly believe that With full commitment from all parties, we can accomplish the protocol's long-term goals of a safe and sustainable environment for both present and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for delivering your statement. Now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Venezuela, Mr. Jose Garcia, General Director of Environmental Quality Management of Ministry of Popular Power for Eco-Socialism. Next speakers will be Vietnam, followed by Burundi. Sir, you have the floor.
Señora Presidenta.
President, Your Excellencies, special guests, distinguished delegates, on behalf of the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, I would like to express our thanks to the government and people of Kenya for their hospitality. I would also like to congratulate the Ozone Secretariat for organizing this meeting. For Venezuela, the promotion and the defense of environmental rights makes up a fundamental pillar of our policies. Political and technical measures in our country are aimed at the promotion of a new set of values and ethics. These are based on eco-socialism as an alternative to the current unsustainable production and consumption model. We strongly condemn the unilateral enactment of coercive measures and economic, financial, and trade sanctions, which clearly violate international law and the Charter of the United Nations. These measures have undermined Venezuela's sovereignty, and they have also affected the import and consumption of HFCs, with negative impacts on sensitive sectors related to refrigeration and industrial and domestic air conditioning, such as the sectors of food, health, and mass transport. President, Venezuela has been working on the implementation of the Montreal Protocol and the Kigali Amendment through a series of policies and initiatives that have allowed us to improve our national management for the protection of the ozone layer. It is therefore an honor for us to be here at this meeting. It's for this reason that in 2022, we created the Subcommittee on Ozone-Depleting Substances and Substances with High Global Warming Potential under the Presidential Commission on Chemical Safety, thus strengthening the institutional framework in our country. President, the Montreal Protocol must remain at the forefront as it has been during these last 36 years, guaranteeing the political will of all parties as the main tool to avoid the use of substances that will affect the environment and damage the ozone layer. Venezuela welcomes the progress made in the implementation of the Montreal Protocol and the Kigali Amendment. However, much remains to be done. This is why sufficient and timely financial resources are needed to continue developing projects aimed at industrial reconversion and institutional strengthening, in particular in developing countries. The environmental and development challenges we face are immense. Therefore, we need to fulfill our responsibilities to protect people and nature and to achieve a more sustainable world for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much for your statement. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Vietnam, Mr. Nguyen Tuan Quang, Deputy Director General, Department of Climate Change, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. Next speaker will be Burundi, followed by Tunisia. Sir, you have the floor.
Madam President, Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to attend the 35th meeting of the party to the Montreal Protocol on certain that deplete the ozone layer in Nairobi, Kenya. On behalf of the Vietnamese delegation, I'd like to express our appreciation to the government of Republic of Kenya, the Ozone Secretariat for organization of this meeting. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, since becoming a member to the Montreal Protocol in 1994, Vietnam has joined hands with countries, international partners, and organizations to implement the Montreal Protocol and its supplementary amendment. Next year will be a significant milestone for us to review the results and achievements that we have obtained over the past 30 years. First and foremost, we have missed our obligation under the Montreal Protocol to phase out completely CFC, Halon CTC, SCFC 141B. Methybromide is being used for only quarantine purpose and on a downtrend uses. SCFC is reduced by 35% and SFC will start at freezing level from next year. The roadmap on the management and elimination of the control substance under Montreal Protocol have been translated into our national policy and legal framework. The regulations were developed that set out the system for registration and reporting on import, export, and uses of control substance. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all recognize the contribution of the SFC control in slowing down global warming by 0.4 degrees Celsius, the effect could potentially double with energy efficiency measures. As a step to stop the situation in the country, Vietnam have included direct and indirect emission of the refrigerant consideration in the country update NDC. The role of efficient and sustainable cooling and its contribution to the greenhouse gas emission reduction targets have therefore been recognized and gradually taken in various sectors. Even though there are a lot of challenges ahead of us, and all these solutions will need time and resources. We, however, believe that with adequate technical and financial support, not only the Kigali Amendment, but many other issues of the concern to the party will be tackled efficiently. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank to the co-chair of all the contact group for the wonderful work to put forward the draft decision for adoption. The comprehensive report of dedicated deep technical committee provide in-depth knowledge and set line to address issues raised by countries during this meeting. I would like to congratulate extend my gratitude to the government of Republic of Kenya, the Ozone Secretariat for successful organizing this important meeting. Vietnam always welcomes cooperation and support from Ozone Secretariat, our partner countries, and international organizations. Your continuous support to us is highly appreciated, and I believe it will bring our work to a fruitful future. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for your statement. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Burundi, Mrs. Renilde Ndayishimiye, Head of Environment and Climate Change Department of Ministry of environment, agriculture, and livestock. Next speaker will be Tunisia, followed by Ecuador. Madame, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Your Excellencies, Madam President of MOP35, Madam Executive Secretary of the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol, ladies and gentlemen ministers, ladies and gentlemen heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It's a real pleasure and indeed an honor for me to address the 35th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol on ozone layer depleting substances and the energy efficiency workshop. Allow me, Madam, to extend to you my sincere greetings and gratitude, and to do the same to the government and people of Kenya for the warm welcome and hospitality extended to us since our arrival here. Burundi ratified the Vienna Convention as well as the Montreal Protocol on the 6th of January 1997 and the 18th of October 2001 respectively. Burundi also ratified the 4 amendments to the Montreal Protocol as well as the Kigali Amendment, which was ratified on the 30th of December 2020. The Montreal Protocol has therefore set out a management plan for the phasing out of these substances with a schedule and timetable for different categories of ODS and the introduction of substitution and alternative technologies to ensure the continuity of global socio-economic development. Distinguished Assembly, as Burundi is an importer of substances controlled by the said protocol, it does not produce any of these substances itself. The same is true of equipment or devices containing ozone-depleting substances. However, Burundi respects and adopts the internationally agreed program for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. With support from the Multilateral Fund for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol via the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, Burundi organized awareness-raising and training sessions for refrigeration technicians, customs officers from the Burundi Revenue Office, OBR, customs declarations and forwarding agents, importers and traders of substances regulated by the Montreal Protocol, for students, managers of refrigeration workshops, teachers at technical universities and technical secondary schools, as well, of course, as the media. All of this with the aim of encouraging each target group to fully play its part in helping the country to meet its obligations. In this context, Burundi has already begun distributing additional tools to companies and workshops that have already benefited from the equipment, as well as tools for assembly, maintenance, commissioning, and gas recovery. Distinguished Assembly, regarding the legal framework for the importation of substances controlled by the Montreal Protocol, the import and marketing control system was set up by a ministerial order, namely Ministerial Order 770/2148/CAB/2017. This ministerial ordinance was revised by a joint ministerial ordinance number 710/750/540/2035, dated December 9th, 2022, to comply with the Kigali Amendment on HFCs, signed respectively by the Minister of the Environment, Agriculture and Livestock, the Minister of Trade, Transport, Industry and Tourism, and the Minister of Finance, Budget and Economic Planning. This ordinance provides guidelines for the control of imports and the marketing of substances controlled by the Montreal Protocol in Burundi via a system of licenses and import quotas. So, As the protection of the ozone layer is inextricably linked with climate protection, the government of Burundi has launched a vast national program called Ebe Burundi Rambaye, which will help to create a significant sink for greenhouse gases, will help to strengthen reforestation and ensure soil protection, which is the most important factor when it comes to increasing agricultural production for the benefit of the Burundian population, without, of course, forgetting the initiatives and measures undertaken for climate adaptation and resilience in view of the country's vulnerability. Ladies and gentlemen, although the country, Burundi, has already made substantial progress in implementing this protocol, it should be noted that challenges linked to a lack of technical and financial resources persist. This is why we are once again asking you to support Burundi on its path towards Burundi, an emerging country in 2040, and a developed state in 2060. I wish every possible success to MOP35 for the protection of the ozone layer and the protection of our planet. Long live international cooperation. Long live the protection of the ozone layer. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam, for delivering your statement. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Tunisia, Mr. Mohamed Nasser Jeljeli, General Manager of National Agency for Environment Protection. Next speaker will be Ecuador, followed by Turkey. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدة الرئيسة.
In the name of God the Merciful. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state, President, first and foremost, please allow me to sincerely and warmly thank the Kenyan authorities for their hospitality and warm welcome. I'd also like to thank the Ozone Secretariat for organizing this important meeting. This year marks the 36th anniversary of the Montreal Protocol, and it's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful city of Nairobi. President, Tunisia attaches great importance to issues linked to environmental issues, in particular protection of the ozone layer and climate change. We are committed to overcoming national and international challenges in order to achieve sustainable development and the survival of life on Earth. Tunisia has become involved in the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol. We have met our international commitments under the protocol throughout the years by implementing projects to phase out ozone-depleting substances. We've done this with the continued support from the Multilateral Fund under the protocol. Projects within the second phase of the protocol have enabled us to implement a national strategy to phase out these ozone-depleting substances, in particular HFCs. We're now moving into another phase to eliminate other ODSs. We are doing so through projects which invest in such elimination programs and by reconverting sectors which deal with refrigerants and air conditioning systems. We have cut by half our consumption and we are increasing the number of natural refrigerants used. We hope, therefore, to keep to all of our commitments according to the deadline set out. We're now trying to establish a national system, bringing together all sectors working in the fields of refrigeration and air conditioning, which involve ozone-depleting substances. Our goal is to achieve a sustainable solution to protect the environment at a national level. President, regarding HCFCs, which feature on the list of controlled substances and ozone-depleting substances, Tunisia has launched measures to vigilantly control these substances. We have set out a robust legislative framework, in particular on the import and export of these substances, and also established a relevant database on these substances and materials, which will enable us to really target our activities. Despite our efforts made for close to 3 decades, though, these substances continue to be used in several large sectors. Tunisia is greatly concerned regarding negative and harmful environmental effects of these gases on our climate. And Tunisia is one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to the effects of climate change. We have a great belief, though, in the project of the Montreal Protocol. And we have really tried to embody the principles of the protocol in our national strategies. To conclude, Tunisia reiterates its commitment to constructive dialogues within the Montreal Protocol and other international fora to address national, regional and global environmental challenges, in particular the ozone layer and ozone-depleting substances, in order to achieve sustainable development. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for your statement. And now I would like to turn the floor over to the representative from Ecuador, Mr. Romulo Armas Real, Director of Environmental Conversion and Technology. Next speaker will be Turkey, followed by Myanmar. Sir, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, President. On behalf of Ecuador, we would like to express our sincere thanks to you and wish you every success in your work. We are sure that it will be very successful. We would also like to thank the Ozone Secretariat for organizing this 35th meeting of the parties. In particular, we would like to thank the government of Kenya for the warm welcome, distinguished delegates and representatives of the parties to the Montreal Protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, I address you today in this prestigious forum of the United Nations with the responsibility of addressing 2 interconnected and vital challenges affecting the health of our planet and life on it. That is the protection of the ozone layer and the fight against global warming. Although we have made significant progress in preserving this fragile ozone layer, it's clear that we must redouble our efforts. Greenhouse gases, especially hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, are a growing threat to our climate. Therefore, it is time for us to step up our actions and set out more ambitious targets in our HFC phase-out plans. We must make it clear that those of us present here are committed to significantly reducing emissions of these substances and accelerating the transition to more climate-sustainable alternatives. The government of Ecuador urges donor countries to increase funding and to promote new channels of funding so that we can develop new projects and technologies to help us in this transition. International solidarity and financial cooperation are essential to enable developing countries to meet HFC phase-down commitments. and to move towards low-carbon economies. An essential component and a complementary component in tackling the climate crisis is the exchange of information. We must ensure that the flow of information on technologies and best practices for the management of ozone-depleting substances is more fluid and accessible to all countries. This will require a joint commitment to promote technical and scientific cooperation. In addition, we must strengthen cooperation networks between countries. Such cooperative links can foster mutual learning and the exchange of successful experiences in implementing sustainable policies and technologies. By working closely together, we can speed up our progress towards a cleaner and safer world. Finally, I want to encourage everyone to promote new leadership within the Montreal Protocol family. We must welcome new voices, new ideas, and new solutions to face up to the challenges ahead. A diversity of perspectives and approaches will enrich our ability to address the challenges that will be involved in implementing the national implementation strategies and Kigali HFC implementation plans. We have a moral and ethical responsibility to take bold and decisive action to combat global warming. I urge all countries to raise their HFC phase-down ambitions, increase financial support, improve information sharing, and strengthen cooperation networks. Together, we can forge a cleaner and more sustainable future for the generations to come. I'll conclude by extending once again our warmest greetings from the government of Ecuador. For several years, the environment and nature have had their own sovereign rights established within the Constitution of Ecuador. Our country comprises the Galapagos Islands, with the Ecuador crossing through it. We have 7 million inhabitants committed to safeguarding our shared home, planet Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your statement. And now I would like to invite to the floor a representative from Turkey, Mr. Abdulkadir Bektaş, Deputy Director of Directorate of Climate Change, Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. Next speaker will be Myanmar, followed by Zambia. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Distinguished delegates, I would like to express my gratitude to the government of Kenya and the Ozone Secretariat for the hosting to the 35th meeting of the parties in Nairobi and for their great hospitality. For the Turkish delegations, it's an honor to be part of this organization and this important and fruitful discussion. Montreal Protocol, with its success and concrete outcomes, has proven to be one of the forthcoming examples of global cooperation for protecting life on the Earth. Turkey has contributing to joint efforts under the Montreal Protocol since its very beginning. Turkey is fulfilling its commitment to completely phase out of HCFCs by 2025. We have reduced more than 600 tons of HCFCs since 2011, the starting point. Currently, hydrochlorofluorocarbon consumption has been reduced 99.5% in Turkey. Only the usage hydrochlorofluorocarbon 22 is allowed with no production in Turkey. Turkey is a party of the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol, is taking necessary actions in compliance with the protocol obligation in November 2021. Turkey ratified, as you know, the Kigali amendment as well. I would like to emphasize that we are very much aware of centrality of our geographical location in preventing especially illegal trade of beef grants. We are taking all necessary action accordingly. As an example, in accordance with our obligations and commitments, since May 2023, we have established and have been implementing an online licensing system for each import and export. Although this creates a huge workload, we found this action has been highly successful and quite exemplary for countries with sizable international trade volumes, such as Turkey, in preventing illegal trade. The results obtained so far are most satisfactory, and we shall build on this and other good practices. 2024 is considered to be a freeze year for Group 1 of Article 5 countries. We are ready to implement hydrofluorocarbons quotas for imports. We developed our system and allocated quotas for imports for the year 2024. We will repeat the process year by year. Distinguished delegates, Turkey determinedly continues and increases its efforts to protect the ozone layer and to combat climate change in compliance with the protocol. We believe that we can reach successful outcomes at the global level if we can, together, develop international cooperation further and better align our efforts. We are aware that there are and will be many more challenges. Yet we are more convinced than ever that we do have a common will means, and most importantly, a firmly established culture of cooperation. This enables us to overcome those challenges ahead through ever-increasing cooperations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your statement. And now, having on time that we have to break at 5:30 in order to enable a preparatory meeting, I would like to invite next representative from Myanmar, Mr. San Win, National Ozone Officer from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Conservation. Next speaker will be Zambia, and I'm afraid that that will be so for today, and then tomorrow we will continue with the statements of heads of delegations. So, sir, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President, Honorable Minister, Deputy Ministers, Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here today. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you, elected to be the president of this event of the MOP35, and thank the host country, Kenya, as well as the Ozone Grid for excellent arrangement with a warm welcome and hospitality. Madam President, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, like any other parties of the Montreal Protocol, Myanmar realizes that ozone layer plays a vital role for human beings. Hence, Myanmar obeys and implements the obligations of the international agreement related to the conservation and protection of the ozone layer. Within the range of the national level, Myanmar also regularly and annually organize awareness-raising activities such as World Refrigeration Days and World Ozone Day regarding to the conservation and protection of the ozone layer with the support of the Multilateral Fund in the past. In order to continue to perform that awareness campaign, Myanmar attempts to do with the best because of the lack of contribution. In addition, Myanmar always submitted the yearly imported data of the ozone depleting substances country program and the Article 7 data in time and in the future will also do. Myanmar acceded to the Vienna Convention for the Protection of Ozone Layer, the Montreal Protocol on substances that depleted the ozone layer, and the Lana Amendment, Copenhagen Amendment, Montreal Amendment, and Vienna Amendment. And we are processing to ratify the Kigali Amendment in accordance with the international procedures. We are preparing to ratify the Kigali Amendment, the latest amendment of the Montreal Protocol. Among of the preparation, we are now collecting the baseline data of the consumption of HFC data as one of the facts that needs to be done. There are many difficulties that we are facing associated with the collection of the baseline year data because of the requirement of funding and technology. And however, we don't turn back and will attempt to complete the collecting of the baseline year data with our best. One more point is that we would like to kindly request the Ozone Secretary for the appropriate provision related to the process of collecting data of the baseline year data of HFC consumption, if it can be. Moreover, Myanmar has banned the importing of split and window type of air conditioning equipment with a cooling capacity of under 2.5 horsepower and generated HDFC since 1st July 2020. At present, we are working to ban air conditioning equipment like chillers with a cooling load of 2.5 horsepower and above that use the same refrigerant. According to the Myanmar HDFC phase-out management plan that is formulated in collaboration with ministries and organizations concerned, including the civil society, private, with the technical assistance of UNEP, HDFC will phase out in 2040. So we also care about the imported amount of HDFC not to exceed the limited amount of regarded the year after year. Myanmar, agricultural economic-oriented country, is in a situation demanding the use of methane bromide for quarantine pre-shipment (QPS) to export its agricultural products due to some major buyer countries. We also try to control the use of methane bromide and only allow the exception of a limited quantity of QPS. Madam President, we have made a lot of progress, but we need to work together to protect the ozone layer in the future. As I presented earlier, we are also trying to ratify the Kigali Amendment in accordance with the international procedures for Myanmar. There are so many things to prepare to enter into force the Kigali Amendment, such as a survey of consumption and production of HFCs and provision for the enforcement and laws that implement the protocol. According to the briefing note of the ratification of the Kigali Amendment, considerable assistance is available for Article 5 parties under MLF, and we still need considerable technical and financial support. Myanmar is trying its best to follow and comply with the obligations set up by the Montreal Protocol and its amendment. We also would like to express our sincere appreciation and thanks to the UN Environment for their technical support and multilateral funds for their funding support. In conclusion, Myanmar will continue collaboration with the Ozone Secretariat and parties hand in hand initiative to achieve the goal of Montreal Protocol. And thank you, Madam President and delegates.
Thank you, sir, very much. since we have tight time, but I decided to allow representatives of Zambia and Malawi to take the floor. I will turn the floor over to the representative from Zambia, Mr. Maxwell Nkoya, Acting Director General of Zambia Environmental Management Agency. And then the next speaker will be Malawi, and then we will resume tomorrow with the statements of heads of delegations. So, sir, you have the floor, and with my kind request to stick to 5 minutes to enable also Malawi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, the Executive Director of the UNEP, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government of Zambia and the people of the Republic of Zambia, I would like to join the speakers who have proceeded before me to congratulate you on your nomination, and also to thank the government of Kenya and also United Nations Environment Programme for the well-arranged meeting. Madam President, allow me also to convey to you the sincere appreciation of the Zambian government for the outstanding work done by UNEP in particular, and also the Ozone Secretariat and the Assessment Panel for their efforts in dealing with issues on substances that deplete the ozone layer and contribute to climate change. I'm also proud to observe that the Montreal Protocol has continued to record success in protection of the ozone layer and prevention of global warming. It is my pleasure to state that the government of the Republic of Zambia, through the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, has cooperated with other state parties in the phase-out of ozone-depleting substances, and the country has committed itself to the phase-down of HCFCs. We are happy to be among the parties that have already ratified all the amendments to the protocol, including the Kigali Amendment. Allow me at this time also to inform the parties to the Montreal Protocol that Zambia has successfully concluded the domestication process of the Kigali Amendment and putting in place laws and procedures for licensing of HCFCs. Madam President, Zambia does not produce ODS and also HCFCs, a refrigerant, but depends fully on imports from other countries. The ODSs and HCFCs application in the refrigeration as well as the air condition sector is significant and essential. Refrigeration and air condition is essential for the development of the Zambian economy, job creation, and also the health sector of our population. You may also wish to know that the production and processing of key minerals, copper and others, depend on cooling systems that support the processes. The transport sector of agricultural products, as well as other sectors, including health, are also dependent on the refrigeration system, including storage of vaccines. Madam President, Zambia has made considerable progress in phase-out of ozone-depleting substances and has been working towards the set target of 2030 and I would like to report that we are on course. And the country has also transitioned towards ozone and well as climate-friendly and low ozone-depleting potential technologies. Through the issuance of, we also want to indicate that though the issue of accessibility remains a challenge to the country, Zambia is also set to the implementation as well as phase down of HCFCs at the beginning of 2024. As I conclude, allow me to indicate that the consumption of HCFCs has been showing a downward trend over the past years, having been dramatically reduced by over 60% from the baseline in 2010. This achievement is attributed to, among others, measures such as implementation of the quota system, as well as licensing of refrigeration technicians. The country is pleased to have transitioned directly from ODS to ozone and climate-friendly replacement in this sector, which is the largest consumer of refrigerants in the country. Zambia supports all initiatives that aimed at promoting energy efficiency.
Zambia recognizes the contribution of regional initiatives established as part of UNEP and Ozone Action to assist parties in Article 5 to the Montreal Protocol. I conclude by commending you and want to say thank you, and Zambia remain committed to support the fight against ozone depleting substances. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you for your statement and for sticking to time. Now I would like to invite the representative from Malawi, Ms. Tawanga Mbale, Director of Environmental Affairs. And then we will resume statements of heads of delegations tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and it will be Iran, Grenada. And if no other parties, then it will be Observers, International Institute of Refrigeration and Youth. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Your Excellencies, the UNEP Executive Director, the Executive Secretary of the Ozone Secretariat, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Government of Malawi and that of my delegation, I would like to express our gratitude to the Ozone Secretariat for their excellent organization of the meeting. I also wish to express our appreciation to the government and the people of Kenya for their warm welcome and kind hospitality accorded to us. Distinguished delegates, undoubtedly, the world has made tremendous progress in its efforts to protect the ozone layer. The results of international cooperation for the transfer of environmentally friendly technologies in the phase-out of ozone-depleting substances, ODS, is widely visible. The international community has made substantial progress in achieving the goal of protecting the ozone layer. The Montreal Protocol has significantly contributed to the mitigation of climate change. With the ongoing efforts in phasing out production and consumption of hydrofluorocarbons, HCFCs, and the phase down of hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, the Montreal Protocol will be able to contribute more to protect the global climate. Madam President, I am pleased to inform the meeting that Malawi is committed to the implementation of the Montreal Protocol on the protection of the ozone layer. Malawi has put in place enabling policy and regulatory measures to safeguard smooth phase-out of ozone-depleting substances, including HCFCs and phase-down of HFCs. This has enabled us to successfully phase out the use of over 60% of HCFCs in the refrigeration and air conditioning sector. We are vigilant to ensure that the phase-out successes achieved so far are sustained through rigorous monitoring and enforcement. We are also continually training our enforcement officers and refrigeration technicians to ensure that they have sufficient capacity to undertake all necessary control measures regarding controlled substances under the protocol. A total of 320 customs officers and over 450 refrigeration technicians have been trained on management of controlled substances under the Montreal Protocol. Distinguished delegates, although a lot of progress has been achieved on the phase-out of ODSs, Malawi is still facing some challenges. These include importation of obsolete, inefficient refrigeration appliances from other parties, non-availability of ODS destruction technologies in the country, limited availability of ozone and climate-friendly technologies in the country, and limited capacity of refrigeration experts on safe handling of new refrigeration technologies, including natural refrigerants. Distinguished participants, it is important that this meeting should address the aforementioned challenges for Malawi and other developing parties if we are to achieve our targets on the phase-out of HCFCs by 2030 and on the phase-down of HFCs. More financial and technical support are needed to deal with issues of illegal trade in ODSs and destruction of ODS banks, amongst others. The uncertainties and complexities associated with these challenges underscore the need for increased and sustained assistance to Article 5 parties in order to maintain the successes we have already achieved. Last but not least, I would like to take this opportunity to convey our sincere appreciation for the outstanding work done by the Multilateral Fund Secretariat, the Ozone Secretariat, the assessment panels, and implementing agencies whose efforts have triggered remarkable cooperation and collaboration among the parties to the Montreal Protocol in addressing the different challenges associated with the phase-out and phase-down of controlled substances. Finally, Madam President, Your Excellencies, Malawi is fully committed to fulfilling her obligations as we have ably done so in the past. It is our sincere hope that the global community will remain united with strong collaboration and cooperation to save our fragile ozone layer in order to sustain a healthy, lively, and peaceful planet for present and future generations. I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, very much. And as I have announced already, we will break now and we will continue tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharply with agenda item 5. And now we will close this segment for today and we will leave place to preparatory segment. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So please take your seats. We will have a very, very short meeting because we only have till about 6 translation. But we thought it would be good just to get a quick update of all the progress made and then also present the path forward. And I would like to report, to ask the people or the parties that would report back to be very brief and concise and also indicate if they need more time. So first of all, I would like to ask the contact group on the term for the next quadrennial assessment to report back. I don't know if Cindy is already in the room. Yes, I see. Please, Cindy, you have the floor. The US, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair, and we made very good use of our time this morning. The group completed the review of the terms of reference and began to edit to remove brackets and agree on text. We have made it about more than halfway through the decision, but we do need some additional time to continue our work. I'm quite confident that we will be able to make good progress with another session. I'll also note that this group has that second part of our mandate to look at the alignment of the reports, and we have not yet had an opportunity, unfortunately, Mr. Co-Chair, to have a good discussion of that part, but we do understand from the mandate you gave us at the OEWG that we needed to prioritize our work on the quadrennial assessment terms of reference, and again, we are quite close to finishing that, but we would need additional time in order to get there, and we are in your hands as to whether or not there's time today or tomorrow for us to complete our work. Thank you.
Thank you, and Very good that you made good progress, and definitely there will be time for you allotted. Then the contact group on HFC 23, who will be reporting back, Germany or Barbados. Germany, Heidi, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Let me start by thanking the delegates in the room for the open and constructive discussion this afternoon. We could make substantial progress and now went through the entire draft decision once. However, we will need more time to further discuss, especially the new text that has been introduced during the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for reporting back, and you will get more time for your further deliberations. Then I would like to go to the next group on the shared responsibility to stop dumping of inefficient equipment. So who will be reporting back, Samoa or the USA? I don't know if somebody is in the room of that group. Yeah, USA? No? Then we go. And Samoa is in the room? Samoa.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I'm not sure whether my mic is reflected on your screen, but anyway, I did press the button. For the contact group, yes, indeed, the group met for the second time early this morning, and on behalf of my co-facilitator, we take this opportunity to thank the parties who attended for their spirit of compromise and flexibility. There were intense discussions on reviewing the text of the draft decision with additional elements proposed by the parties for further consideration. There are also a few comments and concerns raised by parties which requires clarification and additional deliberations. Therefore, Mr. Co-Chair, we would like to request for more time in order for us to complete our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, good to hear there's progress, and there will be time and place reserved for you. Then I would like to go to the feedstock users and CTC group, who will report back from that group, Micronesia or Canada. I'm looking if I don't see anybody in. Yeah, I see somebody in the room, but yeah, now Canada, please.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. A little bit unprepared here, but reporting on the work of the informal group that met this afternoon on the issue of feedstock and CTC. We started a little bit late because there were some challenges with regards to members of the group having to attend different working groups. So nevertheless, we had a productive session where we were able to discuss both CRPs and actually able to look at the text of both CRPs during the session. We had some chance to ask questions to Teep and go into a little bit more detail. Our understanding is that some of the proponents of the CRPs were going to hopefully meet to discuss further in the margins. So seeing some good progress in this group, I would request the co-chairs a little bit more time during this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You will get more time during this week, but not next week, so that will be a lot to you, please. So good to hear the progress. Thank you, Michelle. Then I would like to go to the next one on the informal group on panel nominations. Please, Gilles, please, Osvaldo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and I'm providing this update on behalf of my co-facilitator from New Zealand on the recent activities and decisions made by the informal group tasked with discussing membership nominations for the SAP, the EAP, and the TEEP. We convened once again this afternoon to deliberate on these important matters. It is my pleasure to share that our group reached a consensus on the 5 nominations received for the senior expert group. All 5 nominees have been endorsed for a term of 1 year, reflecting our faith in their abilities and expertise. Their contributions to our shared objectives will be of immense value, and we eagerly look forward to their insight and leadership in their new roles. During our discussions, however, one of our group members expressed concern regarding the nomination process for the TEEP, including the matrix of expertise. Furthermore, we collectively agreed on the nomination received last night for an additional co-chair for the Art Talk. This decision is, of course, pending the outcome of our ongoing discussions on the Art Talk arrangements. I am pleased to report, or we are pleased to report, that we have successfully completed our outstanding tasks with these decisions. I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone involved for their invaluable contributions and for the constructive dialogue that enable us to reach these conclusions. We await, Mr. Co-Chair, your instructions on how to submit the CRP to the Secretariat before approval. Thank you once again for your leadership and support throughout this process. I am confident, I would say rather, we are confident that these memberships, old and new, will greatly enhance the SAP, EAP, and TEEP capacity as we continue to strive towards our shared goals. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for reaching an agreement on the nominations in your group. So congratulations, you both. You're sitting next to each other, New Zealand and Chile. So I really would like to thank you. And good, good to hear that, let's say, once there is clarity on the RTOC restructuring, then we know what can be sent to the high-level segment. So that's what we are going to propose. Then I would like to go to the next one. I have to look at my list. Yes, that's the combating illegal trade. I would like to hear the report back from Denmark or the Maldives. Don't know Maldives. Miruza, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. The second meeting of the contact group on strengthening Montreal Protocol institutions, including for combating illegal trade, met today morning, and we had our first reading of the text after the simplified text proposed by the proponent. We have started editing paragraph by paragraph, and I am happy to inform that very good progress has been made on the text. And we would like to request for more time to continue our work. And the latest version of the CRP is already posted online. Thank you.
Thank you for reporting back and for the good progress you made. So indeed, also for your group, there will be a time slot and a place to meet. Then I would like to go on the, let's say no, I went through all the, no, one moment. I'm back again. I would like to know how the, let's say, the consultations in the margins went on the identification of gaps. So the CRP that was introduced by the EU, I would like to hear if there's progress made. EU, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Indeed, we had further consultations, also considering the various interventions we heard yesterday. I can inform you that a revised version of the draft CRP is now posted on the portal. I have to flag that there is a slight slip in the numbering of and the editorial presentation of this decision. So it should read "parties decide" and then follows the preambular text, and the first operative paragraph is to request the Secretariat. So that's a little correction I would indicate. The changes made to the CRP concern the institutions to be involved in the and consulted by the Secretariat, which includes the Multilateral Fund Secretariat. Furthermore, we amended slightly the task of updating the report provided under 33.4, which now includes also some more further going elements concerning costs associated with enhanced monitoring. And it also specifically asked for a list of potential monitoring stations. Furthermore, in the last sub-paragraph, there is a reference to the discussions we had at the meeting of the Party 45. Those are the changes, and I hope they are agreeable.
Thank you, and good to know that there are some changes and that parties can look at the portal. And let's say we are hoping you can conclude this, let's say, informal consultations tomorrow or today. That would be, if possible. So then I would like to go to the last group that still has to meet. That's a refrigerant life cycle management. But we thought in our wisdom that we, before they ask, they will meet here immediately after this meeting, that they also will have some more time allotted, not only after this meeting, but also somewhere tomorrow. And everybody has to use the time efficiently, so that's something I really would like to ask. Then I give the floor to, not the floor, I give over to my co-chair.
Merci, Raf.
Thank you so much, Raf. We're going to continue along the same lines by following the report of the work carried out thus far. I'm going to look at agenda item 10 on the issue of potential impacts of the coronavirus disease, COVID-19 pandemic on hydrofluorocarbon consumption for Group 1 parties operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5. Now I'm going to turn to the chair of this group concerning proposed adjustments to the Montreal Protocol to inform us of the state of advancement of their work. If the chair is here, I would ask him to just share his conclusions with us.
L'honorable délégué de la...
The distinguished delegate of Argentina, or the distinguished delegate of Argentina or Cuba could perhaps provide us with additional elements regarding the status of advancement.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. So we had just finished our meeting with the contact group, and basically we have the opportunity to begin discussing case by case the countries that are or could be included in the annex of the proposal that we are discussing, that it's a proposal presented by the US with 3 criteria to be included in the list. And hopefully we can have another slot of time to continue the progress. We think that we can achieve the goal, and we are working for that, but we need a bit more of time if it's possible. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup à...
Thank you so much to the distinguished delegate of Argentina. We, of course, trust that the work which you're carrying out is one of great quality, and work of great quality requires time. So a little more time will be needed to be able to review all of the items to ensure that we do not end up with elements that will simply have to be revisited or touched upon again later on. So we'll give you more time for you to be able to fine-tune and finalize your work. So tomorrow, it has to be tomorrow though, and we hope that tomorrow you will be in a position to provide us with the necessary information, results that we can send to the higher level segment, if possible, of course. But we will await your results with a great deal of interest. I'm now going to move on to the next agenda item concerning very short-lived substances. I'm going to ask the chair of the informal group on very short-lived substances and QPS to... I see you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. The informal group on very short-lived substances and quarantine pre-shipment uses of methyl bromide met today for the second time during this MOP and had to divide the time available between these 2 different topics. The group have had a brief discussion on very short-lived substances today, and it is obvious that the parties need to talk further to each other where might be a common way forward. On QPS uses of methyl bromide, parties discussed the rationale of the proposed draft decision and posted questions to MBTOC. At the meeting, the proponents presented a revised version of the text for consideration, which is now available on the meeting portal. As the parties did not have enough time to review the new version, the informal group would like to request additional time to continue the work. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you so much for your very succinct report, which has provided us with all of the elements we needed regarding the work currently underway. We're going to continue with the next agenda item, but of course, you have more time available to be able to complete your work. I'm going to move on to the next item, which is energy efficiency. The item on energy efficiency. So the informal contact group had a discussion on the margins of the main meeting, and we would like to know what progress was made. And is there anyone who participated in these informal discussions here who could report to us? Norway.
Honorable Délégué, vous avez la parole.
Chair. The informal group on energy efficiency met yesterday evening for taking stock after the successful workshop organized by the Ozone Secretariat. Many parties in the group expressed interest on this matter, and emphasized the importance of improving energy efficiency while phasing down HFCs. And many countries are considering this while preparing their KIPs. It was also mentioned that there is a lot of work going on under the EXCOM of the MLF. Among others, it was mentioned the window that has been established for pilot projects. The MLF Secretariat has also been requested to prepare for the upcoming meeting a report for informing further discussions of the EXCOM on energy efficiency, with consideration of any additional activities and options for funding modalities. The EXCOM had also approved twinning projects from Ozone Action that aim at informing and strengthening the regional networks on this matter. During our discussion in the informal group, it was also mentioned that the TIP is going to report regularly on this matter. It was specifically mentioned interest in getting more information on which sectors one can expect greater impact from addressing energy efficiency, and also on aspects of energy efficiency addressed in a system approach. On the way forward, some parties expressed that they see that the concrete next steps will be happening at the EXCOM level, while some others expressed the wish to reflect all the ongoing work in a short and simple decision that would also encourage parties to consider the outcomes of the workshop and finding ways to address the weaknesses identified, as for example around the MEPs, or by strengthening collaboration through regional networks. I understand that we have little time left, but I would like to ask nicely the co-chairs for some more time to meet, for us to agree what could be the best outcome of our discussion in this informal group. And if we get some time allocated, it was also mentioned that it would be very useful if the people of the Ozone Action could be present at this group. I would like to thank all the parties that participated in the discussion, and please do provide your comments if I did not well capture all the ideas. Thank you.
They can. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for that very succinct and clear report. We understand that substantive work has been carried out, so we congratulate you on that progress already made, and we offer you our encouragements for what remains. I understand you need a bit more time, and we will grant you that time. And hopefully with that time you can complete the work that you've already begun. So congratulations and good luck with the rest. We will now move on to the next item. Which is stratospheric management for protection of the ozone layer. There were some informal discussions in the margins of our meeting. I would ask any party that took part in those discussions to perhaps report back on the states of progress of those discussions.
Je ne vois pas de parti.
I don't see any parties present who would like to report back on that issue. We will therefore continue, and I will give the floor to my co-chair, who will cover the next item.
Thank you, Fideme. Under agenda item 19, the challenges and options for future configuration and functioning of the TOCs in the TEEP. There has been a CRP being sent to the Secretariat, and it will be uploaded very shortly. But I would like the US who sent this CRP to the chance to introduce it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair, and following the direction of the Co-Chair when this agenda item came up, the United States, the European Union, and Norway consulted on the margins of this meeting. We have a very short CRP that we sent, one operating paragraph and one preambular paragraph. The preambular paragraph takes note of the progress report submitted by the TEEP at the OAWG and just references the specific chapter within that report where Decision 3411 was taken up, which was the direction last year for the TEEP to provide information on its operations. The operating paragraph, again, it's quite short. It is one paragraph. It requests that the TEEP in the progress report prepared for the 47th OAWG, so that would be 2 years from now, would provide options for the organization of the TEEP and its talks. They would do so by considering their terms of reference, informed by consultation with the Technical Options Committee co-chairs and members, and based on their experience operating on a trial basis with the path forward that they had put in the chapter, in section 8 of the progress report. Again, it is quite short. It was based on consultations amongst the parties that identified themselves as interested, and we believe it provides a path forward under this agenda item. We sent it, as you noted, to the Secretariat quite recently, and we hope that parties can take a look at it and that we are able to close this out. We are not asking for further consultations unless there are interested parties. If not, we would ask simply that the Secretariat prepare this so it could be considered to move to the high level. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if it's already posted, so that will be done. And indeed, it's very good that there has been progress being made with parties interested in this CRP, and it will be posted. And let's say, I don't know if there are any. That's it. We first would like to have it posted, and then we can come back at the next time, because we have to close now because of the translation, to come back next time to if it's possible to send it directly forward to the high level. So because for transparency, I think it's very good to have it first posted, because that's still busy. And we have to close now because of the translation, unfortunately. And at least everybody, we will post the working schedule for all the groups in a moment. It's already there. It's indeed, again, a heavy agenda. But what we try to do is that at least everybody has some time to go to the reception. So that's what we try to reserve, that everybody has time to have some bites and some drinks. And I really would like to ask the people that are going into the contact group on refrigeration, that they, let's say, that all the others are not eating and drinking too much, and leave something for that group as well. So have a good work evening and also have some fun. Thank you.